Let me ask you, do you prefer videos on this channel focusing on niche fragrances or designer fragrances? More niche or more designer? Or do you like a combo of both, which is what I normally do here? But I just want to find out what you guys prefer. Either way though, today we're talking about my 20 favorite fragrances perfect for summer, which is just around the corner. So if you want to find out about them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today we're talking about my 20 favorite summer fragrances from the niche houses. Last week I did the designers. If you haven't caught that, please do go catch that video, and also let me know, as I was asking you, what do you prefer? Do you like the designers more? Do you like the niche houses more? Or do you like a combo of both? And again, I do some oddball brands here and there, and a lot of you might not be familiar with it and are curious to discover them, or some of you might hate the oddball designer brands and you prefer the more well-known brands. Either way, I have some oddball brands here, but before we get to hear about them, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So let's get right to it, but before I start the first fragrance, I'm just letting you know that these are not ranked. I'm just giving you 20 options. First off, NISHANE's AMBRA CALABRIA. I was going to go with HACQUA, but since I've spoken a lot about HACQUA lately, I'm going to go with another favorite of mine. And this is AMBRA CALABRIA. I can't put Ani here because it's pretty intense, but definitely this is my number 3 in my top 12 NISHANE fragrances video as of late. If you haven't caught that, please do catch it. But this one's very ambery with loads of citruses of bergamot. There's a big green vibe with this one, and because of that, it's a unique amber. It's a green amber. It's an amber you can wear in the summertime. Although it can get a little heavy, but go easy on the trigger, and this one comes alive in the heat. It's amazing. But along with the bergamot and the amber and the green notes, you also have some green galbanum. It's a slightly bitter, kind of a resinous-like note. Then there's coriander, some vanilla thrown in. So again, it is on the heftier side of summer fragrances, but go easy on the trigger and you'll be you know, set for a great smelling summer day. Anyway, NISHANE AMBRA CALABRIA. Next, going to a house called the HARMONIST, and this is Yin Transformation. I recently featured this in my Beast Mode video of my Quarantine Beasts fragrances video, and this is a pure perfume edition of a fragrance. And this one actually is an aquatic that's really intense, and it's aquatic as in not seawater, but just water. So we've got water here, you've got orchid, some kind of an orchid, a rare orchid, so it's got a floral quality to it. There's musk here. It's very musky, but it's a clean, slightly soapy musk. And Ylang-Ylang, Freesia, bergamot, grapefruit, lemon. It's citrusy, it's floral, it's musky, it's clean, it's long lasting. So this is Yin Transformation from the HARMONIST. Check that out if you don't know it. This is ROSENDO MATEU #1 bergamot. A really fine smelling bergamot fragrance that I really love. I love bergamot. And bergamot not only can be a note that's in fragrances over and over again as a top note, but it can also be a star. And as you saw in AMBRA CALABRIA, you have bergamot as a top note and is a pretty prominent player. Here it is a pretty prominent player, but it's center stage. It's like the main star. And as I said, so you got Petitgrain and you also have bergamot. So I feel like the Petitgrain and the bergamot are pretty equal, but you know, sometimes I get more Petitgrain, sometimes I get more bergamot. It depends on the days, I guess. There's lots of tea here. There's a little bit lavender, there's neroli, sandalwood, lime, and mandarin. You know what this kind of reminds me of? It hints at a little bit of Raja's now discontinued bergamot extract. A little bit, not too much, guys. And again, it's a wonderful fragrance, so check it out. It's #1 bergamot from ROSENDO MATEU. This next one is a fantastic fragrance. It's not a groundbreaking fragrance, but it smells so authentically minty. It's You or Someone Like You from the house of ETAT Orange. It's so fresh, it's so minty, it's so green, it's so, you know, grassy, and it just smells like, you know, just growth, like vegetation along the street or a backyard or something, herbs. It's just wonderful. To me, it smells like a mint salad with lots of other kind of like recipe notes and things like that. But what you have here is mint, green notes, grapefruit, some juicy citrus, cassis, the green cassis leaves. So there's bergamot again, rose, and musk. It's very clean. It's very musky. It's fresh, and it's just, it's a happy fragrance. This one makes me so happy because that mint note in here is so authentic, and it does not smell like toothpaste. And when the mint smells authentic, it reminds me of mint that I used to eat, or still eat. It smells really, really fantastic, guys. So it's ETAT LIBRE Orange, You or Someone Like You. This next one, it was going to be a toss-up between this one or Orangea. I went with ACQUA Viva. This is from the house of PROFUMUM ROMA. I went with this one because I wanted something really tart, and I feel like this is probably the most tart or sour fragrance that I have here. And I feel like in the summertime, when it's really hot and humid outside, sour cuts through the humidity. I don't know, subconsciously, not like really it does, but for a smell it's fantastic. But just that whole kind of like tart, sour, lemony, kind of woody fragrance experience, musky, is to die for, gorgeous. And again, I like that sour, tart, lemony kind of experience, almost like a lemon drop, or you know, those little lemon candy, hard candies. It reminds me of that. But just imagine it as a perfume. It smells fantastic. So this is PROFUMUM ROMA ACQUA Viva. So I feel like this list is a little bit citrus heavy, but I decided to do a little bit of venturing out. But this next one is from the house of PERRIS Monte Carlo, and this is Bergamotto di Calabria. So Bergamotto di Calabria has notes of bergamot, petitgrain, vetiver, neroli, black pepper, iris, sandalwood. So in the end, it's a very, very green smelling citrusy bergamot. It is actually very comforting as well when you wear it. The citrus for me in the summertime is very comforting. It's almost like I don't know, my experience with heat is not the best. I don't tolerate heat very well, so I always like a cool, and I always want to be like subconsciously cooled off, because I feel like heat always like it excites me too much. So in the end, you want to be kind of like relaxed and cooled off and comforted. So I feel like the citruses do it, and this one does a wonderful job with it. And I like that contrast again with the bergamot and petitgrain. Petitgrain and citruses, just wonderful together. They smell amazing together. Bergamotto di Calabria from the house of PERRIS Monte Carlo. So this next one is another bergamot. I feel like bergamot is ruling this list. This is Neo from the house of Xerjoff. So Neo is a great bergamot. When you wear it, it starts reminding me of classics, like a more classic fragrance. There's something in here that reminds me of like the classic citruses for men from the 80s and 90s, even earlier, like 70s. But it doesn't smell old or tired. It just hints at it a little bit, and that's what I kind of like about it. There's a lot of different bergamot fragrances out there, and I feel like this one is unique because of that. In the end, it's bergamot, neroli, green notes, vetiver, cardamom, pink pepper, jasmine, nutmeg, cedar, gaiac, and I feel like those spicy notes just kind of takes you in that, you know, like classic direction a little bit. Just that's my experience with it. I don't know if you guys have that experience, but it's, again, in the end, it's great fresh bergamot fragrance. Neo from the house of Xerjoff. This next fragrance is from the house of Maison Francis Crichton, and this one is ACQUA Universalis Forte. Man, this is so good. It is a soapy, clean, musky, floral, citrus, lemon concoction. One-of-a-kind concoction, although it's not like oh my god, it's like that kind of a fragrance, but when you smell it, it's just smells really pleasant. It's just the way it smells. It smells fantastic. It's musky, it's clean. There's a little bit of a laundry, clean, fresh quality to it. In the end, it's a great fragrance creation from Francis Crichton of Maison Francis Crichton. I feel like this is one of my favorites from his in the freshies, although he has several that I really like, but this one is perfect in the summertime, and it also lasts a great amount of time. So that is ACQUA Universalis Forte from the house of Maison Francis Crichton. Now this next one I first experienced in the heat of summer in the humid city in the south of France. It's Atomic Rose. And even though this might come off a little strong, it was so good on me in the heat. I loved it. Now there is that little bit of a Baccarat Rouge-like hidden smell under there. It does come out. And sometimes it also kind of reminds me a little bit of like Intense Cafe, the rose in Intense Cafe, more than the milkiness or the coffeeness. But it's a unique fragrance after that. And I love it. And when you smell it also, there's a lot of green touches, almost like green rose twigs or leaves. Then it starts reminding me of a fragrance like Diptyque's L'Ambre dans l'Eau. So it has unique kind of chameleon-esque qualities, and that's what I like about it. Familiarity sometimes is great, and when it reminds me of this fragrance and that fragrance all rolled into one, And I feel like I'm getting the best of all those worlds into a fragrance, especially the fact that I can wear it in the summertime. It's not going to be overwhelming. Anyway, Atomic Rose from the house of Initio Parfums is pretty darn good. So this next fragrance is from the house of L'Artisan Parfumé, and you probably, if you watched my top 21 L'Artisan Parfumé fragrances, you saw this pretty up there, pretty high up there. This is Un Air de Bretagne, this one right here. So what I like about this one, and it's so bizarre that I'm really digging this because of the calone note. And calone note is very, very strong, fishy smelling synthetic molecule that smells like the sea or aquatic smell. And they have a big dose of it here, but something about it really, really is pleasant and inviting to me, and I really love wearing it. It's a very lemony, citrusy, aquatic smell. And it's very breezy, and it says Un Air de Bretagne, the air of Brittany. I think that's what it translates to. And so there's lots of calone here, there's lots of bergamot, there is seaweed, and that's just surprising to me that I'm smelling all these aquatic notes, and I'm still really happy and experiencing really joy with this fragrance, because it just is really, really beautiful. It's just done so well, and it doesn't go too fishy, it doesn't go too aquatic. It's a nice balance of it all. There's also additional citruses. There's some Cypress, Cedar, Ambergris, and Neroli. It's to die for. If you guys like aquatics, if you like citruses and the combo of both, this one is amazing. It's the way it's created is just really, really wonderful, and I love wearing it. That's called Un Air de Bretagne from the house of L'Artisan Parfumé. Going to an indie house called Imaginary Authors, and this is St. Julep. I decided to go with St. Julep because I love this in the heat. There's something about the sugary, crystally experience along with the mint and the clementine, along with that boozy touch of whiskey that I really, really do love. There's also this water note in here, a magnolia note, ambergris with a little bit of like a salty sea-like amber quality. Smells pretty darn good, and I love it in the summertime, as I said. Now, a lot of Imaginary Authors fragrances do have like a woody DNA. I feel like that's the DNA of the brand. In the end, it does have that woodiness, so it doesn't have like a wimpy quality to it. It has a hefty, I'm not saying it's like a beastly fragrance, but then again, that woodiness, the DNA of the fragrance kind of makes it last a little longer. But you gotta like the sugar, you gotta like the mint, and that combination of that clementine note. I think it's either clementine or tangerine, I can't quite remember. I think it's tangerine now that I think about it. But whiskey, just the combination is really delicious. If you like mint, here we have mint again, you should check it out. It's St. Julep, it smells great, and it's perfect for summer. Now this next fragrance is from the house of Marley, Parfums de Marley, and this is Sedley. And this one works great in the summertime. And this one has notes of ambroxan, mint, lavender, cashmeran, rosemary, lemon, bergamot, grapefruit. I spoke a lot about cashmeran, and cashmeran does appear in a lot of fragrances. Here, I feel like the cashmeran is pretty dominant. Like I could smell it really prominently, and it smells like the cashmeran in that eccentric, or not the eccentric, but the molecule 5. But along with that, you have that ambroxan. It's minty, citrusy, lavendery, aromatic, and a great fragrance from this house. Now, it's not one of their like wow fragrances, but it's a very, very pleasant wearing experience. It's a citrusy, woody, ambery fragrance that's perfect in the summertime. So Sedley is wonderful to wear in the summer from the house of Parfums de Marley, and this next one is from the house of Atelier des Ors, and this is Pomelo Riviera. Orange blossom, grapefruit, jasmine, salt, bergamot, cedar. This one, again, it's an aquatic, but I'm digging aquatics. 8 years ago, I could not tolerate aquatics. There were some fragrances that had such high doses of calone in the notes, just really turned me off. Here, it's really, really juicy and relaxing and comforting again. The pomelo, the grapefruit note in here is so relaxing and comforting. It's a citrus that you like to smell. You're familiar with it, and when you smell it, you know, it just kind of like calms you, relaxes you. But then you throw in that kind of like aquatic touch, and I believe the salt is the sea salt, so it smells of sea and salt, so there's that saltiness from the sea salt, because there's no mention of like aquatic notes in here. So all together, the combination is really, really juicy and lovely. I like that about it. So this came out as a trio of Riviera inspired fragrances from this house. Of course, it's in the blue bottle, and this is the gold flakes floating around. And again, you know, it's a fantastic fragrance. It's just, you gotta love citruses, and you gotta love these like aquatic touches. Pomelo Riviera from the house of Atelier des Ors. This next one happens to be my favorite bergamot fragrance. It's Bergamot 22 from the house of Le Labo, and this one just actually is just a sparkly, effervescent bergamot. But it's not all about bergamot. You also have Petitgrain here. I feel like Petitgrain and bergamot are hand in hand, you know, best friends. They complement one another so well. And the Petitgrain has that bitterness. I can totally smell it in here. It's just totally like really intense. And the bergamot is just really like a sparkly, juicy, you know, citrus. Then throw in some vetiver, orange blossom, musk, cedar, and it's a winner. This is definitely a winner from this house. I have come to love this one so much that in fact it's become my favorite fragrance from this house, and it's perfect for the summertime. Bergamot 22 from Le Labo. You've got to try it if you haven't. Now here I'm throwing a curveball, a little bit of a curveball. I decided to pick a fragrance from the house of Diptyque that I haven't spoken much about, and it's a green fragrance. It's a bit aromatic, it's a bit musky. This is Eau de Lierre, this one right here. This is all about what you see on the back of the bottle here, ivy. It's very green. It's not overwhelming. It's woody, it's musky, it's green and leafy and herbal and aromatic. So it's that kind of a fragrance. There's a bitterness to it, but it smells like ivy. Like, as a kid, I used to play around ivy. You know, parents used to leave the kids at the back of the park, and you know, a park or like a garden, and it's covered in ivy, and when you're playing around those, there's that smell. That smell is transferred here. I feel like this is like one of the best ivy smelling fragrances. It really does smell like that ivy. But there's a lot of other stuff in here. There's some cyclamen, lots of musk, geranium, woody notes, ambergris, some rosewood or something like that in there, but it's a great scent. It's not overwhelming, it's not too strong, and that's why I feel like it's perfect for the summertime. If you like the smell of ivy, the plant, the green plant, you gotta check out Eau de Lierre. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's Diptyque's Eau de Lierre. Alright guys, this next fragrance is a fragrance I decided to go with. It was a toss-up between so many others from this house, but in the end, I wanted to pick something that I haven't spoken too much about. This is Lys Mediterranee. Such a great fragrance. We're going with aquatic direction once again. But I before the whole pandemic happened and we got the shelter in place, I shot a whole house overview of Frederick Malle with Dahlia. Have not aired it yet. We'll have to do it very soon. This one turned out to be one of her favorites, and it has become one of my favorites. Lys Mediterranee is all about lily, seawater, lotus, angelica, orange blossom, ginger, musk, vanilla. The vanilla is not too strong, but it smells so good. It smells so good. It reminds me of Easter lilies, because I grew up Christian Orthodox, and we had those Easter lilies all the time. So it has that smell. It does have the aquatic smell of the seawater. Lots of angelica. There is some orange blossom. There's a ginger zinginess. It's very musky. There's the lotus. And there's some sweetness back there with the vanilla, but it's gorgeous. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I'm getting burnt out on some of the typical usual suspects. Originally, I was going to go with Cologne Indelible, but I thought, you know, I've spoken a lot about that one. I rarely speak about this one, and this is so good. If you like the smell of lilies with some aquatic touches, definitely check it out. Lys Mediterranee from the house of Frederick Malle. Now, this one I've reviewed several months ago, and I fell in love with it upon initial spray, and it's called Scent of Paradise from the house of AMBRA. Here we have bergamot once again, but they're intertwining it with fruity notes. So not only do you have this beautiful, juicy, citrusy bergamot, lots of fruity notes under there. There's some almost like melons and fruits that are not so overwhelming. So there could be some light berries in there, some lighter kind of notes like that. Maybe some apricots and stone fruits and things like that that don't have a very prominent and distinct smell. Wonderfully meshed with the bergamot, along with some musk. There's some iris because it does get a little powdery. There's some lavender, sandalwood, amber, and rose. You know, I'm going to spray this because I haven't sprayed anything before I started shooting this. But it's such a soft, pleasant, and cushy kind of scent. Oh, it's really juicy. It smells great. It's very, very soft and cozy and like relaxing. It's almost like you're floating on a cloud or clouds. It's that kind of a fragrance. And I feel like this is going to be perfect this summer because I reviewed this late last year. Now that summer's around the corner, if I can get out and, you know, wander around, this one's going to smell great. This is Scent of Paradise from the House of Algabra. Byredo's got a fragrance called Sundays. It's this one right here, and this is again about orange blossom. Neroli, candy, cotton candy in here, mandarin orange. The mandarin orange is pretty distinct here. You can totally smell it. Lemons, jasmine, musk. This is one of their best releases. Now, I've heard some people say it's not great because of that cotton candy note, but that cotton candy note adds a unique twist to it. Just like the Frederic Malle Salgos, which added the sweet candy notes, this one also is a similar style of fragrance that adds another like candy-ish note. It's a nice contrast, but it actually really works. It does really work, and it complements the fragrance wonderfully. It's good. It's got a very laundry clean freshness about it, because Neroli all the time to me reminds me of fresh laundry soap, and that's great about it. So this is Byredo Sundays. Check it out if you don't know it. Now this fragrance I spoke about yesterday. This is Eccentric 5. This is my favorite Eccentric now. This one is loads of bergamot, juniper, cashmeran, that's the main star of the Molecule 5, cypress, rosemary, bay laurel, ISOE super, ambroxan, oranges. This has become my favorite Eccentric next to Eccentric 4. This is Eccentric 5. This was recently launched, and I feel like this is going to be perfect in the heat. I'm hoping it has great longevity, but from what I've noticed so far, it's going to be great. And I feel like when it heats up, it's even going to be a better longevity, which I assume it's a given with this kind of a fragrance. Anyway, Eccentric 5. It's a really, really nice use of cashmeran. Again, cashmeran is a synthetic molecule that's used a lot in perfumes, and it's used in here perfectly. Anyway, this is Eccentric 5 from Eccentric Molecules, and we're going to end the list with a tie. It's a pair. So this is Cousin Flora, and this is Cousin Matthew. Both of these, this is, you know, targeted feminine, this is targeted male, but they're both very, very wonderful citruses. So the Cousin Flora has notes of ambroxan, citruses, ambroxan, and musk. And the Cousin Matthew has notes of petitgrain, mandarin, and patchouli. They're not very complex, but they smell great, and they work really well in the heat. I mean, this one actually is so good with the ambroxan, and it works great on me, and it doesn't smell feminine at all, even though it's called Cousin Flora. And Flora is my mom's name to begin with, so I almost want to get her a bottle of this, but she doesn't really like citrus fragrances to begin with, so I don't want to give her a bottle. But this smells great, guys. If you are a man and you're seeing the name, don't worry. It's all about citruses, ambroxan, and musk, nothing else. And this one reminds me of your traditional cologne with, you know, mandarin orange, patchouli, and petitgrain. It's really, really juicy and delicious citrusy, and I absolutely love it. This collection, these two, they came out together. They're a pair. Are really, really, really wonderful offerings from Penhaligon's, and they work great in the summertime. If you don't know it, Cousin Flora and Cousin Matthew, definitely check them out. And that's it, guys. That's my list for today. Lots of citruses, and I was trying to do some unique twists in the collection, and hopefully you've noticed that I've done that. But again, citruses work great, and fresh fragrances work great. Aquatics work great, and I feel like I'm really, really embracing aquatics. What do you think? Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please do let me know. What are you wearing this summer? Are you going to be going outside? Everybody seems to be starting to here and there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're wearing, and also put down some comments. Otherwise, please do like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.